Morning, peeps. I'm back with some more wildcard musings for today because I've changed a couple of things from the video I did the other day and also from the team that I put on the pubcast. The basic structure of the team remains the same, but I've made it a bit more robust for future problems that might occur. So this is the one I put on the other day. And the first change I made was taking out Paqueta and replacing him with Semenyo because it doesn't change my long-term plan, which I will show you now. So the long-term plan was to save in 5, free hit in 6, and in game week 7 bring in Fernandez for Wirtz, which I can still do having Semenyo instead of Paqueta. And then in game week 9, bringing Palmer and a cheap striker for Mateta for Chelsea's great run of fixtures, assuming, of course, we got a good Palmer and not a bad Palmer by that stage. That was my original plan, which I thought was pretty good. I think Semenyo, Paqueta, right, he started great this season. He's playing in a very advanced role. He's on penalties. He's only 5.9. Makes him a very attractive option. But the thing is, in 3 seasons of playing FPL, he has never scored more than 100 points. I know we didn't have DEFCON then, but all the other players get DEFCON as well. He will get a few DEFCON, but not a huge amount, I suspect. And yeah, asking him to do something he's never done before. Whereas Semenyo, all Semenyo has to do is keep doing what he always does, and he should end up to be the better pick. Obviously, the price does make a huge difference there, doesn't it? A huge difference. So I'm still kind of tempted to go with Paqueta, but we shall see. At the moment, I've got Semenyo in. Now, when I was stress testing this wildcard, I came across a potential problem. And the potential problem is in game week 6, because I'm planning to free hit. However, should Salah be poor against Burnley and Everton, I wouldn't want to free hit. I would want to permanently remove Salah and replace him with Haaland. So, if I do that, I take out Mateta, I bring in Haaland, and the plan would be to take out Salah and bring in Fernandez a week earlier than planned. You know, a week before that Sunderland match. However, if I do that, I'm short of money. So that doesn't work. So I'm kind of in trouble if Salah's rubbish against Burnley and Everton, and I need to remove him because I can't get the player that I want. So the solution that I've come up with is to take out Gabriel and replace him with Tarkowski, who is predicted to get fewer points, but he is 0.6 cheaper, so you would expect that. The models all suggest that Gabriel will score more points because although he doesn't get DEFCON points, he does get more clean sheets, he gets more bonus points, and he gets more attacking returns. So he is a better pick than Tarkowski. However, he is 0.6 million more. And Tarkowski himself is not a bad pick. You know, I think he will justify his price. I mean, currently Everton's defensive numbers are not great, but Brantford's been out injured and he will be back shortly. They've also bought more attacking players, which is leading people to suggest that their style of play will become more gung-ho and they won't have to rely on a clean sheet. But I think once Brantford's back, Tarkowski will do enough to justify his 5.5 price. And if you want a wild card too, and polls suggest that as many as 48% of people are on a wild card this week, if you're one of them, and you don't have to go to Tarkowski, there's Munoz. You could double up on the Palace defenders. There's Munoz, there's Pedro Porro, but I'm not liking Pedro Porro. I'm not liking him anymore because of Xavi Simons. And we've got to talk about Xavi Simons in a minute because there's an interesting discussion to be had, a bit of controversy, and I need you to sort it out, peeps. So, this Tarkowski as well does give me more money in case something happens to the Arsenal striker, and it gives me enough money to change into Isaac. So having a bit of extra money not only helps with me in game week 6, where if I choose not to play the free hit, I can just do Haaland and Fernandes in, and I've got the money to do it now. And I think this team still looks good. I bring Senesi in away at Leeds instead of Lacroix. Play Dewsbury Hall at home to West Ham. And replace him with Anderson, maybe. I mean, I could even use my bench boost that week instead, almost, apart from Dubravka at Man City. Kept a clean sheet against Germany tonight, Dubravka. But I think this team's fine in game week 6 if I don't use my free hit chip. And it means I'll have my free hit chip for later on, should I have any more potential problems. And that, obviously, without having a wild card anymore, that could be quite useful, couldn't it? So I quite like this team for game week 6. The fact that, because I haven't got too many Palace players to worry about. I mean, I've got Lacroix on the bench. But I mean, most of these players have got good fixtures, apart from the Arsenal striker away at Newcastle. But he can still score there. But, Haaland at home to Burnley. João Pedro home to Brighton. Semenyo playing Leeds. Fernandes Brentford. Dewsbury Hall home to West Ham. It's fine. Defence is good. So, maybe I don't need to play a free hit. So we could call this episode actually Wild Card with no game week 6 free hit. This is kind of a move to Haaland wild card in game week 6. And it looks quite good, to be quite honest. I mean, Salah's going to have to be very good for me to want to keep him, I think, past game week 6 with Isaac turning up. I just don't see him being value at all. I mean, I don't want to take him out now because it's very risky. He's the best captain this week. And you can say he's out of form, but look at who they've played. They've played Palace in the Carabao Cup, who are highly motivated. They've played a very motivated Bournemouth team when Liverpool were playing with like 5 new players, trying to integrate new players into their team. Now, they've just had 2 really tough fixtures against Newcastle and Arsenal. But even so, Salah's got 2 returns in 3 matches. And now with Burnley and Everton, very risky not to have him, for me to go to Haaland now. Far better, I think, to start with Salah and make the call in game week 6. So I'm feeling that this particular wild card here is a lot more robust than the Gabriel and Paqueta wild card, although having a different player here is rather irrelevant because they are going to come to all roads will lead to Parma in game week 9. As Eza, for example, looked great when he came on, really galvanised Arsenal, and Arteta was complaining about him after the match, but really the blame's all on Arteta for not starting with him. So he's an interesting option instead of Semenyo. And I'll show you one that I'm particularly interested in myself, which was Xavi Simons. Very interesting option. Now, we're going to have to talk about him because there's a bit of a strange occurrence in social media this week. When I knew thought he was going to sign for Chelsea about a month ago, I did some research on him. I went to the Leipzig forums, and they all told me that Xavi Simons is no good at set pieces. He's great at winning them because he gets fouled a lot. He's one of the most fouled players in the league. But he's not great at taking them. But then when I listened to The Wire the other day, one of the presenters said that he was fantastic at set pieces. And when I mentioned on the pubcast last night that he wasn't very good at set pieces, my co-hosts all shot me down and told me he was great at them. So either everybody else is right and I'm wrong, or everybody else is wrong and I'm right. And we all know, peeps, I'm always right. So we're going to have to see. So I want you in the chat. Get in the chat and tell me the truth. Give me examples. Point me to some evidence that Xavi Simons is in fact great at set pieces, because I can't find it and it's vexing me. It really is. I went through all his highlight reels on YouTube. Not a single free kick goal. So I watched him tonight against the Netherlands. He wasn't taking set pieces. So why does everybody think Xavi Simons is great at set pieces? And it is important because currently Pedro Porro's on them. And everyone seems to think he's going to lose them. But will he? He might keep them. Either way, I'm not getting Pedro Porro, because I just think he's too defensive. Frailty. He's too frail in defence. And they've got 7 matches in like 20 odd days, which is why I'm also probably not getting Xavi Simons. And for a Champions League side, they are very thin in terms of personnel. So I won't be going there just because of the fixture congestion. And I don't trust Pedro Porro defensively. They were away at West Ham at the weekend, who have got some great fullbacks. And they could run. Anderson might play, the new West Ham player they've got. Is it Anderson? Somerville. Somebody like that anyway, who could run rings around Pedro Porro. He can't be trusted, New manager. Frank's not Postecoglou. He's not going to put up with it. So his minutes are in danger. So I'm not interested in Pedro Porro anymore. But that does not mean he's going to lose his set pieces, though, because I don't think Xavi Simons is good at set pieces. Anyway, peeps, let me know. Let me know. So this is why I've got Semenyo in, because he's the most kind of consistent, I think, between now and game week 9. There's Newcastle midfielders you could go for. People did last week, didn't they? They went to Langer and Barnes. But look what happened there. They didn't even start. I mean, that's the thing with Semenyo. He's a 90-minute man, isn't he? Every single week. They've got no Europe to worry about. So it's very hard to find a better replacement. It really is. The other position I was vaguely thinking about the last couple of days is Mateta. Obviously, they've lost Salah, they've lost Wharton, and apparently Pino's injured. So the transition to attack is going to be very difficult for them. Although Glasner's a very good manager, and we could see the replacements come in and do well. But Mateta, I think I'll keep him because, like I said, there's a very good chance that in game week 6, I take him out anyway for Haaland. So I only need somebody for a couple of games. And one of Mateta's games is against Sunderland this week, which obviously makes him quite an attractive proposition. And he's quite highly owned, so I might well keep him. There are alternatives. I see Visser is suddenly very high up in projections, the new Newcastle striker. But apparently Isaac's not fit enough to play for Sweden this week. So why would Visser be fit enough to play for Newcastle? because he's been training on his own. He hasn't played any matches or whatever. But he's obviously being projected to be very good this season, Visser, and at 7.5 million. He's got to come into the conversation at some stage. He's probably going to be it's going to be João Pedro or Visser at some stage, isn't it? That's what it's going to come down to, I suspect. But so I'm a bit kind of not overly confident on Mateta. And the other big thing I've got is this Wirtz and Fernandes business. It's very tempting. If you're on a wild card, it's very tempting to go straight to Fernandes and not worry about Wirtz. But that Burnley match is going to be far different than anything we've seen Wirtz playing in the Premier League so far, isn't it? Completely different style of match where he could well shine. Liverpool are obviously going to be very dominant in that game, so he's going to see an awful lot of the ball, and there are going to be opportunities for attacking points. And Fernandez's next two aren't great, and I will be bringing him in anyway in game week 6 or 7. So given Wirtz's next two fixtures, I think I probably will go with him. But he did nothing for Germany tonight. He's got me slightly worried, and I am hoping he falls in price again before the deadline, so at least I only have to pay 8.3 for him. But I'm really hoping he comes good, because if I do take Salah out in game week 6, I do want some Liverpool attacking cover, and he is the obvious option, isn't he? But if he's playing as badly as he did today, then there's got to be questions asked, peeps. So anyway, that's about it. So I will be doing further updates as we go along through the next couple of weeks through the international break. Nobody appeared to be injured tonight on international duty, but we can now say that this here, I'll update this, is now my current wildcard draft, and it is less dependent on a game week 6 free hit, which I think is a good thing, because it would possibly be useful to save it if, as we're told, there is a chance that there could be a blank game week in game week 17 if Palace go through in various competitions. Anyway, peeps, that's about it. So I'll talk to you all later anyway, and say goodbye to the parrot. And I'll talk to you all later anyway. So cheers for now then, peeps.